Hunter, if TCU and Baylor play tomorrow, who do you like?
Baylor. Kind of hard to say it, but Baylor. Although with the recent injury to Andrew Billings on that defensive line, I think if that is a critical injury, then I don't think Baylor wins the national championship. If Billings is healthy, then I think he wins the national championship. I saw some tweet from it was about the Kansas coach, David Beatty, and he said that Andrew Billings is the best defensive lineman in the Big 12 he has seen since Ndamukong Suh. Mm-hmm. And as far as interior defensive line, I have to completely agree. He is incredible. He's a run stuffer. He can rush the passer. He does it all. But without him eating up that space, I think that Baylor defense gets just a little bit more vulnerable. And as much as Baylor is cranking out the points and really pouring it on people, I don't think that's at a sustainable pace. I mean, you cannot expect to score 66 points a game and win every game, as we have learned over the past couple of weeks. I mean, heck, we can score 52 and lose. It's the Big 12. That could happen. There's a very high chance of that happening given the schedules that remain.
So if I'm hearing this right, all three of you are making a huge statement here, because we know that Baylor's defense isn't great. It might be decent, and that might be good enough, as Sean says, to win a national championship. We know that TCU's offense is exceptional, one of the probably 5 best offenses in the country pretty easily. Great back, great receiver, maybe the best quarterback in college football. We know that TCU's defense is probably better than Baylor's, despite some hiccups early in the season. They're getting healthier, they're playing better. But we think Baylor's offense is just that off the charts that you guys aren't even giving it a second thought that Baylor's better than TCU.
Difference to
yeah,
whoever
no,
wants to jump in.
I would agree with that. You know, all personal dislike of Baylor aside, that honest to goodness, that their offense has not missed a beat against any opponent. You know, it's just I wouldn't have any doubt to say that they're the best offense. The question for me is going to be when you know, at whatever point, whether it's in the Big 12, because I think left on the schedule, I don't have any questions saying Oklahoma State's defense is going to be the best defense they're going to run into as they play out. You know, what's going to happen if, you know, look what happened in 2013. They came in as big favorites into Stillwater, and they ran into a defense that punched them in the mouth, and an offense that for whatever reason that game just couldn't miss. So, you know, as a championship team, those games happen. You're going to run into somebody who's going to have the recipe to give you trouble, and the key is going to be, can you withstand that? OU, I think OU playing them in Waco, I don't know. It depends on what week you catch OU, but I just think that game in Stillwater is going to be 2 weeks in a row. You think about it. Look at those 2 road games. I believe they're 2 weeks in a row, right, Sean?
Yeah, they are.
At TCU, at OSU, and then at TCU.
Yeah.
Those 2 weekends, I think, decide the Big 12, because you're looking at Baylor at OSU, and then you've got the next weekend you've got I think TCU at OU, maybe that other weekend, and then that last weekend you've got Bedlam and Baylor at TCU. I mean, that weekend, think of what that weekend could mean. Thanksgiving weekend, what that weekend could mean for the Big 12.
The one thing that a defense can't do, as you mentioned, going back to 2013, that they can't do now unless they want to lose players to suspension, is they can't rough up receivers. So that kind of compromises aggressive defensive play in the secondary against a great team like Baylor, where in addition to a pass rush, the formula a couple of years ago would have been safeties that just anybody that comes across the middle, you know, we let them have it, and they may catch those passes in the first quarter, but they're not going to catch them in the fourth quarter. That element's almost taken out of the game. From a health standpoint, that's a good thing. From a football standpoint, maybe so much. But, yeah, it should be interesting, and we'll have plenty of weeks to prep Baylor and TCU. And, of course, Oklahoma State could be in the mix as well as OU, as Robert laid out for us. Another team I'd like to introduce into this, and Hunter started to talk about is Red Raiders. So you had that 2-week plateau of playing that great game against Arkansas, and now the Razorbacks have not turned out to be the team we expected. And then that great game against TCU that you could have easily won. The team seems to have plateaued to a certain extent since then, Hunter. So your thoughts about your Red Raiders at 5-2?
Well, it is one game better than last year, and as of right now, that's what we're after. We have a couple of very winnable games in front of us. In technical football terms, there's not a game on our schedule that is not winnable, but in my opinion, there are a couple. Whenever that Red River rivalry happens, that is going to be a game where you just toss out toss out the records, toss out the players. It's going to be it's just one of those games where whoever wants it more is going to win. And then the next week, there's another really interesting stat about Bob Stoops, that he hasn't lost back-to-back games, I think, since the 90s, since he's been the coach at Oklahoma.
29-0.
Yeah, he is very literally the best coach in the nation at bringing his team back after a loss. So I don't think Oklahoma is as mercurial as we're making them out to be. I think that's just how football goes sometimes. Like, you lose a game to a rival, and then you have Bob Stoops, who does Bob Stoops' thing, and now we'll see a little bit of more of a, like, kind of not a regression to the mean, implying that they were better or worse week to week, but we're going to see more of, like, what Oklahoma actually is. If a couple things go right for us, we have a chance in Norman, but I don't really see that. I see us having a big chance at Kansas State and hopefully beating Texas for the first time since 2008. That would be very nice. I think Oklahoma State could potentially be winnable for us at home. Halloween night, they didn't give us nighttime in Lubbock, which...
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Weird things happen in Lubbock, regardless of if it's nighttime or not. So, I mean, they didn't give us nighttime.
Are we
with
still
Halloween.
talking about football, Hunter?
Yeah, they didn't give us nighttime in Lubbock with the Halloween matchup, black and orange. What the heck, man? Come on, Big 12. Get your scheduling straight. That's bull. But, no, we have a couple of very, very winnable games, and it's just going to be, as of right now, we're kind of in that middle tier, but we definitely have a chance to impact that top tier with a couple of lucky balls.
Hey, Robert, you understand that your team is the mystery team in college football. You can't go through a conference and say either these teams are good, these teams are bad because they've played this, and that team, and they're 7-0 and they've beaten them, and them, or they're 3-4 and they've proven not to be as good as we thought at the beginning of the season. Oklahoma State, you guys are the mystery team, and you're still going to be the mystery team after beating Kansas this week at 7-0. We know probably less about this team than other teams, and Sean disagrees with me, less about this team than other teams based on the competition, I think.
Yeah, no, I'd say we're definitely going to be the most unknown, the most mysterious 7-0 team. When we get done with Kansas, which we will get done with Kansas. It may not be pretty. We may pull a Texas Tech here. I don't know. We did that last year, so it's hard to say. But I think the game that's going to really tell us a lot about the team is actually going to be that trip to Lubbock. Texas Tech is a good football team. And I actually didn't talk about this. You've got a chance at Texas Tech if they beat OU, if they pull off the upset in Norman, which it would be an upset. If they win in Lubbock against OSU, they could run the table, and they end up with 2 losses. You could have potentially 5 teams with 2 losses at the end of the season.
How big?
Honestly, do I think it's going to happen? No, but for Oklahoma State, if they find some semblance of a running game, they don't even have to get a good running game. If they can get their yards per carry up in the high 3s, and start throwing 125 to 160 yards a game in the running game, because that would be a huge improvement for them. Then I think. Yeah, and what's funny is we look at their offense and we say God, that offense just doesn't seem very good. If you look at some statistical categories here, it's not like they're ranked 100th in the nation in points per drive or anything like that. They're actually one of the leaders in quality drives, long drives. They're great in the red zone. I think they're second maybe in the Big 12 in the red zone, scoring 97% of the time. J.W. Walsh has been tremendous in goal line situations, won the game for them at West Virginia. So, yeah, I agree. It's a mystery because you can't say they've really loaded up against anybody. They got some breaks against Texas. They won late 3 games in a row. They win late in the game. So Texas Tech, I think, is going to be a huge thing. I think if they're going to contend, they're going to have to go to Texas Tech and win and show that they're a team, that they're going to be a force to deal with when November comes. If they go down to Lubbock and look sloppy and get run around the field by the Red Raiders, then November could be a long month for them.
So I'm guessing if we do get the 5-way tie that Baylor automatically goes because everybody's so impressed with them scoring 60 points a game.
Absolutely not.
We got to let Sean talk here because I know he's going to jump all over me for that comment, and I don't think he agreed with my comment also that Oklahoma State's the mystery team in college football. That's not a negative necessarily. You could pick out any team in college football, and I could tell you I know quite a bit about how good this team is. I don't know how good the Cowboys are.
No, I actually agree with you wholeheartedly. As much as I really say Baylor can win a national championship, I'm trying to be the same person around campus telling people we should be worried about going to Stillwater. I'm very scared that Baylor might lose that game, especially because of what happened in 2013. And I'm even worried about any game. Who knows? We might lose homecoming this weekend. Probably not, but it's going to be crazy. Big 12 is no, it won't happen. But it's just the Big 12 is really freaking crazy. As Hunter said, we could have 5 teams with 2 losses. It's a possibility that this could happen. And Baylor, I'm going to say that for their defense, here's an important stat. They lead the nation with 22 straight games with an interception or fumble forced. That's a surprising stat. That means they get the ball in their hands more than anyone or can have the opportunity to put their offense back on the field continually. And if they can get a one drive jump start, that's kind of an automatic win. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be all about keeping Baylor's offense off the field. And Oklahoma State has the best shot at that, playing at home and also having the best defense in the nation. So it's going to be down to the wire. November's going to be crazy.
Yeah, to Baylor's defense, when you do have such a great offense that they're scoring 1-minute drives, 90-second drives, obviously the other team gets a ton of opportunities, and you could be pretty good on defense, but you're going to be on the field so many times for so many drives that the game gets extended in terms of the number of possessions, and you're going to give up more points because of that, most likely. So, Sean, how good is the Baylor defense? Who do we need to know about on this defense? Are they decent?
Of course, I think they're decent, as I said, with the stat line of 22 straight games with a turnover. Sean Oakman is, of course, one everyone knows, but he's been kind of hidden this year. Andrew Billings is probably the best player that's on the defense. Taylor Young is another great linebacker that everyone should know about. He's great in coverage. He's very small, plays a lot like Sam Mills. I know that's going back a little bit, but he's a very small player that plays with a lot of heart. He's great. As for the secondary, it's improved. Orion Stewart and Xavier Howard are the 2 leaders for this team. And coming into the West Virginia game, I'm not sure about after, but they were second in the Big 12 with their top 3 defenders in passes defended. Xavier Howard, Orion Stewart, and I believe Ryan Reed. So they're second to West Virginia in passes defended. So that's something that they did not do well at all last year. And that's what burned them against Michigan State and TCU. So if they can start fixing that as they have this year, this is a solid defense that can actually stop plays. So we'll see how they do against players like Josh Jackson. That's going to be the true test.
Hey, Robert, give me one reason to believe in Oklahoma State, and then give me one reason why they may lose 3 games to the rest of the season and not be nearly as good as their record indicates right now.
The one reason to believe in Oklahoma State is Emmanuel Ogbah. and I say, he's not alone, but he is a game changer on that side of the ball. We actually saw it 2 years ago when he was emerging. The Baylor game in 2013 was actually a bit of a breakout game for him. But he has just been beyond even as advertised as we went into this season. If you don't want to believe in him, it's the inconsistency of the offense. They have the ability, they actually they have a lot of long drives, successful long drives, but there are many moments where they have a chance to throw that extra score on the board. As Sean referred to, you get that extra possession and you take advantage, you put points on the board. It's hard to come back from that if you're the other team. And they just have too many little 3-and-outs, too many stupid little possessions where, a couple of stray play calls, an extra running play that's not successful, and all of a sudden you're going 3-and-out, handing the ball right back to a team that you just had the opportunity to take the momentum away from. So I'd say it's pretty straightforward for OSU. The defense is the reason to believe in them, and the offense's inconsistency is the reason not to believe in them.
Hey, Hunter, we'll give you the parting shot since you led off in such a great way for us before we dive into some predictions. So what are you thinking about the Big 12 right now? I'll leave it carte blanche, whatever your thoughts are going into Week 8.
Well, as of right now, as it is every single year, the Big 12 is a horror movie. It is a horror movie with all 10 of the teams in the same house lurking around, trying not to die. And the killer is dressed in a ref's uniform and is named Upsets. That is the Big 12 at any given time, any given place, and how it is currently. We don't know. Nobody freaking knows what could happen. This league is so unpredictable and weird and zany and full of juju magic. Like, I don't know. We don't know what'll happen.
Hunter, do you tell the ghost stories around the campfire?
Always.
Okay, I figured. All right, predictions, boys. What do you say?
All right.
It's unpredictable, so why not? Let's go.
Exercise in futility.
Let's make it easy here. So I'm guessing, unless I get a show of hands otherwise, and then I definitely want you to comment on your prediction, Baylor over Iowa State and Oklahoma State over Kansas. We're pretty much in agreement there.
Yeah.
Okay. Sean, do you have anything to say about those two?
No, it would just be no, there's nothing.
All right, we got two pretty good games when we talk Kansas State going to Texas again. Inexplicably, the Wildcats 55-0 against Oklahoma after playing very good football the two previous weeks and could have had 2 wins there and had played 3 games that they easily could have won but completely collapsed. So the Wildcats going to Texas, and the Longhorns, we talk about Jekyll and Hyde for Oklahoma, similar for Texas to a lower degree. They've been good in spots, but 2-4 is 2-4. So, Hunter, who do you like Kansas State going to Austin?
I'll take Texas.
There's something about Snyder getting beat 55-0, being 0-3, and going down to Austin. Hunter, when you talk about the weird juju,
that is one of the weird jujus.
the Purple Wizard. I just find it hard to believe the Purple Wizards football team is going to look that disorganized 2 weeks in a row. Texas is not the kind of team to blow somebody out unless they're just really bad. So I'm kind of feeling like Kansas State might pull a little bit of a surprise here in Austin.
Okay. Sean, 2 teams that seem to be evenly matched. I don't know what the point spread is, but evenly matched in a very strange kind of way, with Texas hosting K-State.
Oof, it's a tough one. I think both teams are trying to fight for something. Of course, with Kansas State 55-point loss, Texas is just trying to fight for respect within the conference, because even after beating Oklahoma, I'm not sure that people really do respect them. So playing in Austin's got their favor, but Kansas State, they could send out the Dartmouth College robot dummy at quarterback. I I'm going to go with Texas. It's the quarterback situation looks more serious than I originally thought. I think they're going to start pulling this season together.
Okay, Sean, we'll stay with you. We know you like Texas Tech. Early in the season, you talked about liking the Red Raiders as a surprise team. They're off to a decent 5-2 start, going to Oklahoma to take on the Sooners.
Oh gosh, this is a really strange one, and Hunter's said it so many times. There's something about playing in Lubbock, but you got to think that Bob Stoops has this team together after that production last week. So I'm going to go with a close game with Oklahoma.
Robert, Sooners and the Red Raiders getting together.
I think OU. I'm going to agree. I think it'll be a close game. Tech's got plenty of offense there, but I think OU in Norman. I think they win a close game in Norman.
Right, Hunter. You kind of talked around this one a few minutes ago. You got Texas Tech, who, if they pull off the win against OU and go to 6-2, they could be looking at a pretty strong season and a nice bowl bid, taking on the Sooners.
Well, I think Oklahoma wins a mostly uncomfortable game by a comfortable margin of points, but it's not off the back of Baker Mayfield. I think their running game gets going, and they just kind of shove it down our throats like everyone else has many times before.
Big 12 Breakdown every Wednesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Central. We bring in the best bloggers from the Big 12, and that includes Sean Cordy from Today's You, Robert Whetsell from Cowboys Ride for Free on the SB Nation platform for OSU, and also from Texas Tech's Viva the Matador, Hunter Cooke. Guys, it's always a good discussion. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much, Mark. It's always a pleasure.
Take it easy.